We have Marion Freijsen. She's Strategic Business Advisor, leading commerce strategy for EMEA at Adobe. And we also have Ray Bogman, Senior Global Software Support Manager at Adobe. And they're both here to help us make sense of composable commerce. Please welcome Marion and Ray.
Thanks, Ray. Hi, everyone. Great to be here, and thank you so much for battling it out with tubes and what have you to get here today. My name is Marion Freijsen. I'm Strategic Business Advisor for Adobe. I run commerce strategy across EMEA, and as such, I work with many merchants on topics that relate to how to connect the technology to the ultimate experience you want to deliver to your customers. And with me, I have Ray today. Ray and I will be talking about composable commerce. Ray.
Thank you, Marion. Thank you. Well, before I start on doing a small introduction, it's really great seeing you all over here. I mean, I've been doing some talks with Marion as well online, and I just want to say thanks for everybody being here in this great event, and definitely with all the sponsors and JH organizing that. And to memorize that first take in 2.5 years, I'd like to take a picture. So, if that's possible, hopefully everything works.
Say hi.
Hi. Great, guys. Thanks. Well, my name is Ray Bogman. And as I just mentioned already, I'm responsible for the software support within customer engineering at Adobe. And my story back on Magento started already 14 years ago. So I've been around the block, I would say, for some time already, but still learning every day on things that are happening at Adobe and with our merchants. So thanks again for being here.
Great. Let's get stuck in. So this session is about composable commerce. It is a marketing buzzword that a lot of merchants are asking me about and checking in to see what does that actually mean and what do we do with it. So today we'll be covering 4 key topics. First of all, where does composable commerce come from? What does it mean? What you actually already might have in your organizations that's considered composable. How the setup around composable can help your organization innovate. And finally, how a flexible approach can help you speed up innovation. At the end of this presentation, you'll have a very clear understanding of what the term means and also what it doesn't mean, and how it will help your organization speed up that innovation that we're all looking for. So, Ray, let's get started. Composable commerce. Perhaps you can kick off with a quick introduction and a definition for us.
Yeah, definitely, Marion. Thanks. Well, it's kind of interesting to see how this buzzword more or less, came around. But to be honest, and let's see what it actually describes, because it's more or less summarizes a series of elements that's been around there for some time already. So it's not actually that new, I would say. And looking at the definition, composable commerce is deploying an approach of setting best-of-breed commerce elements and combining or composing, that's the terminology, them into a custom application built for specific business needs.
Yeah, thank you. That already helps in setting the scene a little bit, and it makes it a little bit clearer. So what you're saying is that these elements aren't necessarily new for companies like Adobe. We've been working with pieces of this for some time already, and we'll be going into some of the best-of-breed extensibility topics that it covers. Let's jump to the one thing that all our clients want to know. Can you explain in a few words, what the key advantages of the term composable commerce really bring to merchants and clients?
I certainly can. I mean, the list is endless, but just to summarize it, otherwise we would be here all day, I guess. But one of the most important things that we've seen is that continuous deployment. That's a crucial element on some of the advantages. Rapid releases, who doesn't want to have efficiency on deploying as efficient as possible? Endlessly scalable, making sure that those composable elements are ready to use and can scale when needed depending on the business needs. But also the flexible, ready-to-use products that are available. And to summarize things, and I think that's something that everybody can allude to, is that it really narrows down lower cost of ownership. And I think that's one of the most strengthful components within that element.
Nice, that's great. Now, alongside modular commerce, I've also heard the term MAC used quite frequently. Can we drill down into that a little bit, please?
We certainly can. Not sure how many people in the audience are familiar with the terminology, but let me rephrase and summarize a little bit on what it is. Well, actually, the M stands for microservice. Hopefully, some of you have already heard about that. A stands for API. I think most in the audience hopefully are using that. I mean, cloud, that's also the next one. And to finish up, the headless component. I think that's more or less the summarizing on what the MAG terminology brings, but actually, it's not really that new. I mean, it's combining, and it describes more or less the essence on existing technology components and putting this together in the singular architecture. And Adobe actually, and this is kind of funny, actually is doing this now for some time. So the acronym itself may be new, that's a marketing term, but we are leveraging this actually since Magento 1.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting to see how things came up, and it's not all new to humanity in this case. So it's already out there.
Nice. And I agree with that, actually, that we've been using it for some time. But please explain how the combination of these different principles impacts the organizations that our customers work in. Does Adobe have a point of view on that?
We certainly have. I mean, looking right now, there will be an increase of collaboration, of course, between both technical and business teams, because you need to work together and making sure that all those components are efficiently brought to life. But looking again, I mean, we're just using the terminology on Composable. At some point, we definitely see also that the term modular commerce is more appropriate in this situation and using that. And I think the most important, again, is use as much best practice combinations as possible.
Yeah, I agree. Could we have a look perhaps and deep dive a little bit into the different components that make up, as you've just explained, microservices, yeah. API first and so on. Let's start with microservices.
A microservice, yeah, that's a really interesting one. I mean, looking right now, we see that the individual pieces of business functionality, they are independently developed, deployed, and managed. It's like breaking up, the application into smaller pieces and collecting them in loosely coupled services. So for instance, and maybe shared over the slide as well, we have a service that's called Live Search, a service that's called Product Recommendation, a service that's called Payment, and there will be more services coming over months to come. Something that I'm really interested in personally, and hopefully as well you in the audience, is the catalog service. Finally, we are getting additional services ready to use for having scalable, flexible, and ready-to-use components within our software stack.
Yeah, I think that catalog microservice is actually going to be super exciting for a lot of our clients.
Everybody's waiting for it. So.
I know, for quite some time. So what would the key benefits of using microservices be for our clients?
The key, and to summarize it again, it can be an endless list, but one thing that I'm really happy about is the rapid deployment. I mean, looking right now, getting something up and running, getting into the market, that's crucial for our clients. Scalability already. I mean, looking right now, for instance, at Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or other marketing events that we have, having that service ready to go and scale up when needed, that's something that our merchants, love to use. Again, total cost of ownership, already alluded to it before, but those are some of the things that we have available as we speak, and will have a tremendous impact, of course, on using that service. Mm-hmm. And to just briefly summarize, of course, best of breed, extensibility, and seamlessly combining different services. I mean, the slide before on the live search, on the catalog, I would say it's more or less plug and play. True, not maybe for everybody, but I will definitely encourage everybody to start using some of those components together and see, what definitely makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the idea of the flexibility and faster deployment. That really does help a lot. So the question I get from many of my clients is, is this something that I can just dip the toe in the water and start small with, or should I go full on with microservices? What would you say to that?
Keep it simple in the beginning.
Right.
I mean, it's great that we have all those services out there, but deploying and making sure that the services definitely add value to your business needs, those are crucial. So, check out with your partner or otherwise, after the session you can, address me or Marion on some of the things, but definitely make sure that some of the best practices are being used while defining a project before you start using all of it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So thanks for explaining that first acronym, microservices. Let's move to the next one, API. Everybody, of course, has heard of APIs, so there won't be any surprises here. But how does the combination of microservices and APIs really, what's the difference here? And why are they so important together?
That's a good question. I mean, as we already mentioned, it's not pretty new. I mean, not going to read the whole definition out there. Everybody can read it. But looking right now, combining that API between whatever is happening on the front end and whatever happening on the back end and connecting those pieces together, that's the crucial part. Using a technology that we are offering as GraphQL and using the latest technology like gRPC for transporting some of those components, for instance, to that catalog service, that's the power that we need to make sure that we're delivering the best service possible.
Yeah, fantastic. So the use of APIs will really help customers increase speed in terms of time to market. Yeah. That's what we're saying, correct?
Yeah, I mean, to quickly summarize as well, I mean, flexibility, simplification, that's some of the things that are always encouraged. Make it simple as possible, because otherwise it's getting too blunt and that doesn't make sure. And that will lead eventually to time to market. And again, the scalability. That's a crucial component, making sure that we are leveraging best of breed services.
Yeah, great. So next one up is cloud. I think, again, everybody has heard of that one.
It's true. I mean, we need to host this somewhere. I mean, looking at some of our sponsors out there and even our own technology, it needs to be hosted somewhere. And I guess so many people out there, they are using some of the solutions that we offer. But looking right now on some of the things that within cloud are usual is scalability. We need to make sure, again, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, other elements which are out there, they need to scale as quickly and as efficient as possible. And also within Adobe Commerce, we are definitely working on cutting edge functionality, making sure that's also available for every merchant out there.
Yeah. And finally, of course, we're coming to the last of the acronyms at least. Could we talk about a headless component? But before they do that, I'd like to hear from the audience a little bit. How many of you have heard of headless already? Yeah, that's a good percentage. And in terms of using it, how many of you do have a headless front end?
Okay.
That's a bit smaller number.
That's a bit smaller, yeah. And that's kind of interesting to see, which makes sense.
It does.
It does make sense. And hopefully maybe a year from now or 2 years from now, we will see everybody raising their hands. Exactly. That would be lovely. I mean, looking at the definition, and I'm not going to summarize it, but it was an interesting one to look at it. But to make it simple, layman terms, actually a headless component, it's nothing more than a component that sits behind a backend. And it's more or less defined as the heads. And it can be front end, which is being used for any customer. But the interesting thing is, looking right now at some of those headless components, is that we have kiosks, we have point of sales. Mm-hmm. There are so many headless solutions out there available. I mean, we offer our own PWA Studio component, as you might have heard. But also we've seen customers using AEM, the Adobe Experience Manager, as a CMS system, using as a front end. So there are multiple systems out there. But looking at some of our clients that we supported over years, and we've seen Drupal as a front end. So again, headless is around wherever you can meet, and using the technology as APIs that we've seen before, connecting those microservices, that creates all the pieces of the puzzle together.
Yeah, now we're beginning to build that picture, right? So all of these components together create a flexible environment for the audience. But I'd still like to bring this to life for you a little bit more. So Ray, can you perhaps talk about a use case, a client that's actually already using these different components in a modular setup, if you like?
Yeah, I mean, I just mentioned, Drupal, for instance. We have one client based out of the Middle East. They started with the Adobe Commerce backend back in the day already, and started leveraging Drupal as a front end, as a CMS system. And over time, some of the things they improved, getting newer APIs, GraphQL, making it more speedy, but they also just start leveraging mobile applications. And while using that API component that we just spoke about, and using that same data feed, it's much easier to use multiple front ends, so Drupal will still remain. Maybe over time they will, start using AEM. That would be cool. But using that GraphQL component, that's the crucial component within the headless scenario of this customer.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting thing is that while referring to this particular use case, with the help of Adobe Consulting Services, we were able to start leveraging a component called GRA, Global Reference Architecture. And that actually really helped to define scalability at the maximum level. And using, for instance, our own Adobe Core as a base, and based on that, we could add specific components that are necessary for this particular customer. Mm-hmm. And to put some icing on the cake, as we sometimes call this, is country-specific elements. And well, sometimes, and this is kind of funny, we also called it a 3-layer cake.
Yeah, I always think it's more of a wedding cake, right? It gives us cause for celebration, and it hopefully means tighter working together in the future. So this global reference architecture, in summary, with a modular front end, really helps ensure that flexibility, the total cost of ownership, which goes down, and just an easier system to manage and maintain for our customers, correct?
I think that's a really good summary, but definitely make sure, as we already shared, and not to, reinvent again, but the components that are needed, start using those, it's great to start using all of them, but make sure that those components, with the help of any partner or from Adobe itself, are using best practices over there.
Yeah, thank you for that. Are there any other technologies that we haven't yet covered, Ray, that we should be aware of?
Oh, that's a nice one. Looking right now at some of the things that we offer on the client that I just mentioned, using those new technologies, those microservices, we even started within cloud to start advancing on some of the newer technology within AWS. Endless scalability from a database perspective, having numerous additional serverless components. I know this is not a technical track, but I just wanted to summarize it a little bit. So we definitely are working on cutting edge technology, making sure that those are delivered already within those scenarios, and hopefully they will roll out over time where everybody starts using those.
Yeah, fantastic. So let's not forget that some of these services Adobe offers are actually also based around artificial intelligence, which adds another component to what we've already classified, really helping that customer experience. So to switch to the organization side of things, the new platform and services will really reduce the impact it has on the organization itself. Is that correct?
That's correct. And just showing this slide over here, not to repeat itself, but there are so many services out there which are just plug and play.
Yeah.
And I think that helps organization grow much more efficient. That's why we're going back to the TCO part, is that using that artificial intelligence and using that data stream and showing the full essence on the total value, of course, of the functionality, that's crucial.
And what about timelines? Again, back to my earlier question, companies that are doing well right now may not want to change too many things, but at the same time, this is all new, we're beginning to evolve, and Adobe is developing very fast in this direction and bringing lots of great things to market. So is this something where people should be starting with thinking about this right now?
Well, actually, we're already in it. Mm-hmm. It's not new. We just defined the acronym, but looking right now in some of the components, cloud, API, that has been around already for some time. Microservices, of course, that's a little bit new. But looking at the live search, that's been around now for almost 2 years, product recommendations, etc. We are about to launch for the e-commerce functionality as well, the app builder functionality, which will be cutting edge. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we don't offer an option right now to get into all the details, but that's something definitely that merchants would like to love and start using. So I would say it's already out there, but just be careful on what kind of services you would like to use, and use the leverage on any partner or Adobe to help you with that.
Yeah, perhaps you can take us through a little bit of a timeline in terms of Adobe's journey to this point.
True. I mean, and this is kind of funny. As I mentioned already, I've been within the community and at Adobe already for some time. And back in 2009, when I started with Headless, I connected a CMS system called Joomla. Maybe some of you heard about it, the CMS system, connecting it to Magento. And maybe it was a little bit too early. You know, a lot of learnings have been done over those last, I would say, decade. But looking right now, going into the future, how things evolve, and as I mentioned already in the beginning of the session, a lot of things already out there. It's not totally new. I would say the microservice component, that's new and that will evolve over the years. But please start using it. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't add value to the bigger use case in this.
Yeah, no, great. So from being in the middle of this journey already, can you just click, please? Thank you. I will. You know, at the end of the day, what is most important of all is for our clients to know how will this improve the experience they serve their customers. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, that's the holy grail of e-commerce, right? Is that customer experience, which Peter referred to earlier as well. We want to make sure we do the best possible job of supporting that. Yeah. Well, user experience is key at Adobe. And of course, you know, we are constantly looking forward to improving that. And I think that's the essence of the bigger story here. Yeah, fantastic. So, modular approach has been great. We've seen that it has a very positive impact. Thank you, Ray. I think it was amazing. Really good to hear and drill down a little bit and distill the myth that composable commerce is anything different than what we at Adobe call modular commerce. Anything you would like to add as parting words? Well, to summarize things, and I hope everybody can see it, these are some of the 4 important pillars that we go by. So definitely make sure once you start using some of those components, the performance, flexibility, scalability, and time to market are the essence on getting best in practice in this case. But otherwise than that, yeah. All right. Well, let's summarize some of the key takeaways then. First of all, composable is good. We think modular is even better because you don't necessarily want to change your components every single time. You want to pick and choose those modules that you actually need at that time, and so we prefer the term modular. Key benefits are, as we've repeated many times, flexibility, faster time to market, faster deployment, lower cost of ownerships, all things that organizations should be very happy with. More great things coming from Adobe on all of that topics. And finally, when you do start thinking about implementing modular commerce, talk to us. Let us help you devise the best possible architecture for your organization, for your clients, to serve the best possible experience. Ray, thank you so much again. Thank you all for being here. If you have any questions, please let us know. We'll be around. You can find us at the Adobe booth or just anywhere in the building for the next few hours. So we're happy to take any questions. And of course, you can reach out via email. Enjoy the rest of the events and all the great talks out there. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for your attention.